Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a hidden structure inside the Qur'an. It's a kind of symmetrical blueprint that reframes its stories not just as history, but as a living, dynamic system. This is a really different way of looking at Revelation, so let's just dive right in.
So let's start with this one big question. What if all those prophetic stories aren't just accounts of the past, but are actually components in a perfectly balanced cosmic engine? That one idea is the key to this entire explainer. We're not just looking back at history, we're decoding a model for how Revelation itself works. All right, our way into the system is through two of the most amazing births in the Quran. Yaḥyā, who you might know as John the Baptist, and ʿīsā, or Jesus. But these aren't just miracle stories. Think of them as signals, kicking off two totally distinct but parallel fields of operation. First up, we've got Yaḥyā. His birth comes from a place that seems, well, finished, from old age and barrenness. And what's he told to do? Take the book with strength. This moment is the origin point of what we're going to call the sound field. A field of transmitted commands and laws, a cycle that can actually be renewed right when it looks like it's over. But then, on the flip side, you have the birth of ʿīsā. This is totally different. It's not about renewing an old command. The text describes it as a luminous insertion. The word of Allah directly enters a pure container, Maryam. This kicks off the light field, which is all about the divine word itself, about knowledge and spirit being made real. Okay, so we have these two starting points, light and sound. Now let's really look at how they operate. We're going to see that they work together as a complete, perfectly balanced system, where each field has a clear beginning and an equally important end, or in one case, a repeat. And this is where it gets really cool when you see them side by side. The light field is about the kalima, the word itself. It enters a form and it runs a complete journey, from a beginning to an end. The sound field, on the other hand, is about the amr, the command. It's transmitted, it flows, and it can be renewed or repeated. It's like two different cosmic frequencies running at the same time. So check this out. The light field creates a perfect closed loop. It starts with ʿīsā and Maryam, that's the word, entering its container. And then, in perfect symmetry, it closes with Ahmed, another name for the Prophet Muhammad, and his mother. That's where the word finds its final, complete embodiment. It's a perfect circuit, beginning to end. But the sound field works differently. It's a renewal loop. It begins with Mūsā and his mother, the mother of the prophet, where a command is transmitted into the flow of events. But it doesn't just end. It gets repeated, renewed, with Yaḥyā and his father, who are told to uphold the book and bring fresh strength to that transmission. And what you end up with is, well, it's just this incredibly elegant structure. You get a balanced bifurcation, two distinct fields, light and sound, word and command, running in parallel, but together they form a single, closed and perfectly symmetrical cosmic system. Now you might be wondering, what holds all this together? A system this balanced has to have an anchor, right? A central point that connects and stabilizes everything. In this model, that anchor is the prophet Ibrāhīm, Abraham, and he's represented as a cosmic tree. And the Qur'an itself gives us this amazing imagery for the tree. Its root is dug deep and firm, anchoring God's decree right here in the material world. Its trunk is unshakable, like a mountain. That's pure submission. Its branches, they reach up into the heavens, into higher spiritual states. And the best part? It gives fruit on demand, but only by divine permission. And this is how Ibrahim connects it all. Through his son Ismāʿīl, he anchors the line of the book, the Kitāb. That's the sound field of Mūsā and Yaḥyā. Then, through his other descendants, Isḥāq and Yaḥqūb, he anchors the line of the word, the light field of ʿīsā and Ahmed. He is the single root from which both of these massive fields branch out. So it's really important to get that this isn't just a static diagram. It's a dynamic engine. It works based on these symmetrical paired motions. It's almost like we're looking at the physics of a spiritual universe. Let me show you a few examples. So the first pair is the most basic one you can imagine, descent and ascent. You have the descent of Iblīs from a state of grace. And for that action, there is a perfectly symmetrical countermotion, the ascent of the prophet Idrīs to a high station. One goes down, one goes up, perfectly balanced. Next, we see this pattern of collapse and renewal. When the massive cycle of Solomon's authority comes to an end, symbolized by him falling inert, the system doesn't just stop. A new cycle is immediately triggered. Yaḥyā is born. kicking off a whole new phase centered on purity and strength. The system literally resets itself. And this brings us full circle, right back to the light field. The word enters the system with the arrival of ʿīsā. That cycle then finds its perfect, symmetrical completion with the arrival of Ahmed. It's the word's entire journey, from entry to completion, closing the loop. You know, this verse, spoken to Maryam, is so important. It shows us that things happening in this system aren't just random. The fruit appears when the tree is shaken, when a specific action is taken, by permission. It's a system of triggers and responses, all happening within a framework that's already been set. So, we've seen the fields, the anchor, the physics, but what is all this for? I mean, why build such an elaborate system? This brings us to the climax of the whole thing, its ultimate purpose, and why it's deeply personal for every single one of us. Because this entire vast cosmic engine with all of its cycles and symmetries, it wasn't just built to be admired. It was designed for a user. It is an interactive stage. And that user is the reader. This is Adam, and by extension, it's every single human soul. You see, this Quranic blueprint isn't just the book we're supposed to read with our eyes. It's the very stage our lives play out on. We enact our journey, and by doing that, we read the book with our own existence. And every reader, every one of us, faces a huge choice right at the start. Do you enter the system aligned with the mother of the book, the source code of reality, or do you enter through the field of illusion? And the control variable, the thing that decides your path, is hawa, or desire. If your desire is aligned with the divine will, your life becomes a Mūsā phase, guided, righteous action. But if it's unbounded, it becomes a Pharaoh phase, a life of corruption and trying to be your own God. And here is the most mind-bending part of all this. Every life, every choice you make, creates its own universe of action. But it all takes place inside the book, a book that God has already read. Our lives are the performance, and He is the ultimate witness to a story He already knows from beginning to end. And that brings us to the number one, because despite the dual fields, the pairs, the motions, the entire system is a single, unified, conserved whole. An infinite number of stories unfold, but the total always remains one, a perfect reflection of the one witness. So we end right back where we started. But now the question is for you. The book has already been written. The cosmic blueprint is set. Your life is the act of reading it. So how will your story unfold?